This is going to be a demo on the stiffener command. So we have a stiffener and then a gusset. The stiffener is a straight flange, straight edge from the top to the bottom. The gusset will have a flat edge on either side here. Okay, either one is using the same command called stiffener. So I'll demo how to do that. Let's demo this one first. So I'll change that name so we can find them. And we're going to need to create an L-shaped bracket again. I'm going to use profile. Shoot, I don't think I want to make that bigger. Under profile, start here at 101. We'll go 3 inches. I'll make it a 1/4 inch gauge thickness. And you need to constrain it. I'm going to auto constrain this profile using these two surfaces as datums. We'll stack dimension it. Contact. Exit out of this thing here, and we'll build a path. And we'll build a pad. Sorry. Let's go 3 inches to make this easy. Okay, now I want to build the stiffener, and the number one mistake I see people make is they go to the same plane and create a sketch. And then they try and create their sketch. Way off. Try and create their sketch. But that profile, that line here, it's right in the middle. Okay? So if I try and use the stiffener command, let's use stiffener to put that on there. It's not going to like it because I'm right in the center, right on the part on the edge of the stiffener should be in the middle. Okay, so I'm going to put a stiffener in the middle. So always expand your tree so you can see what you're doing. The other mistake I see people make is they go into the existing sketch because Dave said to modify stuff. So I'm going to go into the existing sketch, try and create that line. But then when I get out, iSol is not going to like that because you have to have a closed sketch. Remember when I go into sketch, you got to analyze your sketch and verify that it's a closed profile. I got that isolated line I don't need. That needs to go. So adios to that. So step number 1 is to get a plane right in the middle of the part. Do you know how to create that part, that plane in the middle? Under plane, if you recall in the previous demos, I said it's the only one that's going to say middle. So if you can't remember, you just got to pick on each one of the types until you find the one that tells you it's in the middle. I'll select, make sure the curve is active. I'll select on this edge. Puts a plane right in the middle of the part. In fact, if I were to change this to 2 inches in depth, the plane moves. I'll go 8 inches. 8 inches in depth. Notice that plane stays in the center. Back to 3. That plane is right dead center. So that in order to put a stiffener on there, I want to use that plane. The whole purpose of creating that plane is so that I can sketch on that plane. Now I can go to sketch, create a line from here to here, exit out of the sketch, go into my stiffener with that sketch already highlighted. I can use neutral fiber and go 1/4 inch and hit tab. So how thick is that bracket? Is it 1/4 inch either way, making the flange this a 1/2 inch, or is it a 1/4 inch altogether? That is 1/4 inch. Neutral fiber says from the sketch you're going to go 1/8 inch in either direction, making that flange 1/4 inch, or that stiffener 1/4 inch thick. Pause the video, see if you can't build the same part. Alright, I'm going to hit OK to this and go into sketch 3 because I'm going to modify sketch 3. I want to show you a trick here. I'll try and move this off. Notice it's not even touching the part anymore. When I exit out, how did it create the stiffener? You can see the line wasn't long enough. So what it does is it just automatically extends it. That makes that unique to the pad, where I don't have to have a closed profile. Just that simple little edge was enough to create the profile for the stiffener. So again, a stiffener doesn't have the flats like the gusset does, and it's unique because it doesn't have to be that closed profile like I've taught up to this point. To get the part in the center, you have to create that plane in the center of the part. Okay, the purpose for putting in stiffener and gussets is to give the angle bracket strength. So it's going to make that much stronger if there's any pressure on it. So it'll give the angle itself can give it a lot of strength, or whatever you're attaching it to, and then in reinforcing it with stiffeners and gusset makes it that much stronger. So normally when I do something like this, it's not a part, it's actually called a weldment. This part would be renamed as a weldment because you would have, it's not an assembly because I don't bolt it on, it's not a piece that comes on and off. It's becomes one part in the sense that it's welded together. So this piece here in reality would be one piece, and then this L bracket would be some other piece, and we weld it here, some kind of fillet weld here at the seams, making it one piece when it's done. So when you make a part like that, that's called a weldment. Okay, so they're attached by welding them together, and that's called a weldment. After I weld them together, that's called a weldment. Okay, so when I want this tree expanded, I want to see the pad, the weldment, and the two different sketchers, and a picture of that when it's all said and done. Now, what I've done, the way I've done this is, it's great, it'll work fine. The only thing is, how do you measure it? If I do a measure between, it's a 1/2 inch, right? Well, if I go into this sketch and I change this to a 1/2 inch, and I change this to equals this one, and I say okay, and I exit out of the sketch, that's no longer a 1/2 inch distance. So the reality is I would want to control that distance to be 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch, or whatever it is. So I got to go to sketch 3, and really what you got to do, so I'll move this around, I'll hit delete, okay, and I'll create a line from here to here, so that's at a 1/2 inch. In fact, I'll constrain that. I'm going to constrain that point to this face. It's at a 1/2 inch. This point to this face. It's at a 1/2 inch. When I exit out, I've got measurements at 0.75. It didn't hold that. I'm going to have to delete this measurement out. Okay, I think you guys realize it's a 1/4 inch now. I can delete that one out. And I'm going to measure this edge to this edge up here. It's a 1/2 inch. Perfect. Now I got a 1/2 inch on either side. That's what I'd want to call off on a drawing, maintain a 1/2 inch thickness. Now, if I go to sketch 1, I change this back to 1/4 of an inch, and we exit out of sketch. Can you tell me why it's no longer 1/2 inch, it switched to 1/4 of an inch? What did I do wrong? Do you think you can problem solve this? If you can, pause the video and see if you can figure it out. Your goal is to try and constrain it in such a manner that it maintains the 1/2 inch. I'm going to go into sketch 3, and I'm going to blow the surprise. So if you were hoping to figure it out, you got to stop the video and try. So what I got to do is, the profile has to be what color now to let me know that it's fully constrained. Hopefully your response was it's got to be green. It is not green, that's why it's not fully constrained. So the reason why it's not fully constrained is I got the 1/2 inch measurements, but I didn't link it to the surfaces. So I'm going to go to Tools, Sketch, Contact this point to that surface, contact that point to this surface. Now the profile is green, and now it's at a 1/2 inch. When I say exit, I created the stiffener to hold a 1/2 inch. I changed this profile change this value to 1/2 inch, say OK. It still modifies that stiffener to maintain the 1/2 inch. If I go into this pad here, I'll change that constraint to 1/4 inch. Change this constraint to equal. Oh shoot, I can't do it from here. I'm going to go into the sketch from this position here. I'll activate the sketch. Not to confuse the blue measurements for the constraints. Those are now equal. Say OK. Exit the sketch. You'll see that it's going to maintain 1/4 inch on either side. If I were to go back to this profile and change that constraint to 1/4 inch, not only will this go to 1/4 inch thickness, but these measurements will maintain 1/4 inch thick here. And that's how you properly build a stiffener for your L-shaped bracket.